Contrast uncut, yeah, you know that's us. Where we only speak the real and the real rock with us. Where we motivate the people and politic on success. Oh no, we ain't DJ Khaled, but they swearing we the best. Contrast uncut, contrast uncut, contrast uncut, contrast uncut.
What's happening? It's Contrast Uncut. It's season 3. This is one of my dear special edition episodes. I want to give a big shout out to Uncle Snoops Army and Bobby D Presents. I appreciate you, brothers. It's your host, Zylo, aka DJ Juan Dollars, like I won some money. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have an incredibly dope special guest. She is a United States Army veteran, CEO, speaker, author, media correspondent, and the founder and host of Herspiration Happy Hour podcast. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from St. Leo University, a Master's in Health Service Administration from Central Michigan University, and a Doctorate in Management with a concentration in Organizational Development and Change from Colorado Technical University. She is the founder and CEO of Clark & Hill Enterprise, LLC, and as an author, she has such incredible must-reads. I Am Not a Stereotype, I Am Her, and she also co-authored Living a Non-Negotiable Lifestyle, My Life plus My Dream plus My Ambition equals Success. And if you didn't get that math problem, then you know what? You got to put this on repeat, because that will give you a nice key to a slice of life and how to be happy and just enjoy things that happen for you and manifest. And if you don't know who's on the show by now, it's all good. We got all episode to chop it up with the brilliant mind behind Unapologetic by Dr. G, Dr. Pam Gurley, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
I'm blessed. I can't complain.
Me too. Well, complaining doesn't solve anything anyhow, so why complain?
You know, I managed a restaurant for a long time, and they would always ask me, how are you doing? I'll be like, I can't complain. And they'll be like, yeah, you know, no one cares. And I'll be like, yeah, it's no one's business either.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it also. Yeah.
For real. But, you know, I got to tell you from the very jump, Dr. G, time is the most finite thing we have on this earth. And I got to say, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show, fucking with me, fucking with the viewers, just giving us a pretty much an introduction to who you are outside the books and outside the speaking, so that we get to know Dr. Pamela Gurley.
Oh, so what would you like to know? What? So let me ask that, because there are so many facets of who I am, just naturally. I'd have to, you know, is there something specific?
Oh, yeah, no, we're going to run through that, I promise you.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, Dr. Pam, Dr. G, speaking of time, what is a normal 24 hours for you?
I don't have a normal 24 hours. I have to say that. I don't really have a normal 24 hours, because naturally you would understand this in media. You never know what's going to come up. But I would just say, for the first thing I ever do in the morning, which is very much routine, as soon as I wake up, I send about 15 text messages to family and friends. That's probably the most routine thing that I absolutely do. It's my morning inspirations. Good morning. Sometimes it's an image, sometimes it's a motivational quote, but it's every morning. That's the very first thing that I do.
You know, the big reason why I asked what's a normal 24 is because in reality, people that are successful and taking a leap of faith by walking by faith and not by sight, there is no normal 24. You adapt, you overcome, you make that schedule work every 15, 20 minutes. If it's an hour, it's going to cram into that schedule until it's, clock out time, go home, spend time with family and kids.
Very much so. And sometimes I don't have that opportunity on a day until, 15 hours later, because there has been times where one of my days might end up where I could easily have a 10-hour day. I could easily have a 15 or 16-hour day. So you're right. I don't have that normal time, but the most normal for me would be just my morning texts. After I get out of bed, I don't know what's going to happen after that.
No, give all glory to God for that fresh breath of air, no matter how funky it may smell, just because bad breath is a thing in the morning. But you know what? It's all good.
That's why you brush your teeth at night, though.
No, it'd be dry. I do brush my teeth at night and in the morning. It still be funky. Maybe because of my dry mouth. You know what? I gotta have a dentist on the show and figure out what my problems are. But that's a whole different story. I got a quote. Let me know how this quote relates to you, or if it doesn't. The idea is I want you to talk about it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It was when I realized I needed to stop trying to be somebody else and be myself. I actually started to own, accept, and love what I had. Tracy Ellis Ross.
Ooh, that one gave me chills because I can relate to that so much. And I think I talk about that in my book is I lived for other people and what other people expected of me, the way other people, defined, who I was. And I wasn't really happy. So no matter what I accomplished in life, I still was very broken on the inside. I was still very toxic. I was very vain on the outside, but I was very toxic and broken on the inside until I found who I was and I accepted who I was and owned everything about me, the way that I looked, the way that I felt, the way, I started not giving a damn about what all the external factors, and just really, I forgave myself for enabling the way people treated me. And I forgave myself for enabling situations that I knew I should not have been in. So I owned every flaw that, and mistake that I made. And I just, that's what created Unapologetic. It really put me in a different space in my life where I have the gift of goodbye, the greatest gift of goodbye, because I can really sever ties with things that are not serving me, any purpose, or is giving me the energy that's going to be a part of the energy that I'm giving out. Because one of the things I always say, toxic in, toxic out. So I need things that's going out that feels good, that's radiating good, so that those same things can come back to me. So I feel that quote for so many reasons.
When I read this and I read, because I don't have all the time just to dig into the book, but there was just so much I read from it. And something I really got from you is that you have to forgive yourself with authenticity. You have to say, you know what, when you own something, it's not like, oh, it's my car and I had 3 other cars. It's no, I have to make sure I take care of each thing the same and have that ownership, that authenticity of caring, because when you forgive it, it really allows you to separate and grow and move on, because what's not growing is dead. That's potential. That's energy just standing there waiting for something to happen and everyone can see it, but you don't see it in the mirror. And you have to embrace those things and smile, because at the end of the day, when you go through this process and you overcome, nothing can take you down. Nothing can bear on you, because you already been through the worst. You already been so uncomfortable that comfort is everything.
Yeah, but the goal is not to be comfortable. The goal is to live uncomfortably so that you can find and radiate in your purpose. So the other part I would really say is you have to own with intent. You have to be authentic with intent. You have to live with intent, because we talk about time. Time is not promised to anybody. So you have to give your time with intent for it to mean something.
Yes, yes. Now, speaking about your career, and I know you have all these different hats. I feel like if you had a TV show, you would play all the characters and they would be all different jobs, and you're an expert in every field. So that would be an amazing show to watch, but that's just here nor there. Speaking about your career, did the game choose you or did you choose the game?
A little bit of both. I say that because it's so weird how life has a way of evolving. So back when I was in high school, I was in an upward bound college program and I was the editor of our paper. So it's kind of weird that here it is, fast forward many, 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 many moons later that I am, I do content writing, I do editing services and all of that. That's what Clark and Hill Enterprise does. And I do ghost blogging and whatnot. So to me, that really fit back way when I was in like 9th and 10th grade, at a college, being a editor-in-chief. And then I started out in behavioral health, which is always going to be near and dear to me. So I think in order to relate to people, you have to understand behavior. And
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the greatest gifts, that even though I'm no longer practicing in that field, that it's really defined a whole lot of how I deal with people and the way that I see people and imperfections in people. I'm not going to say that I'm accepting to the behavior, but I'm respectful to it. But I also know how to separate it when I know it's not good for me. I had to learn and discern those things, and I attribute that to my education. Other opportunities presented itself.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I gotta ask one thing. It's spontaneous, and I gotta know how much of damn it, that's what I get for talking about what it is versus just saying it. But how much of, oh my Lord, I had such a great question. I can't believe I just did this and I interrupted you. I'm an asshole. So basically, how much of your attitude has to do with, your behavior? That's exactly what I was trying to say. How much of your attitude weighs in on your behavior? Because a lot of people don't realize that their attitude affects so much.
Your attitude and your behavior, even though they're two different things, because you can have an attitude about something, but how you react to it is your behavior. And so those are something that I'm mindful of. Now, there are times where my face can totally give it away, but my response to it might not be the same. And so, it's when some people say you need an attitude adjustment, and I might not be saying anything, very, very much so. But it's still, they play together. So you can't have one without the other because they feed off each other. But it's better to be proactive than reactive. Basically, know when to walk away, or know when to say enough is enough. And in conversations, instead of saying something derogatory, it's much easier to say, right now, I'm not in a place to have this conversation because I don't want it to be ugly. So I think I'm going to, end this call, or take some time, or whatever is needed to separate yourself so that you can, recollect, your attitude. You can adjust it by that point instead of behaving in a way that you'll regret later on.
And see, there we go. Here we go. I just want to bridge one more word that people don't know that are all connected. It goes with your energy.
That's correct.
Your behavior, your attitude connects to your energy. And then that energy pretty much transcribes your vibe and the rest of your day.
That is correct. But also, I always tell people, I never have a bad day. I might have bad moments in a day, but I never have a bad day. As long as I'm living and breathing and I can wake up and I'm healthy, I'm having a good day. But there are moments in my day where I just feel like I'm at wit's end, where I'm tired or somebody has pissed me off. Sure, I have those, but I don't allow that to overshadow the best parts of my day.
Why would you claim a bad day when there's so much more of a day that's there? That's just one moment. There's 24 hours every day. And that's another thing that people don't understand. And you brought it up, is that you have to claim what you want that's positive. Why would you put negative things into this universe, into your spirit, and for other people to attract to it and attack it?
That is correct. Because you have to own who, that's about intentionally owning who you are. If you can do that, you have self-control over everything in your life. And now, am I saying that there are going to be moments where you feel out of control? Sure, that's normal, but you can't say that dictates an awful day because you have a moment and you've stepped out of character for a minute. I've always felt like every now and again, that inner bitch needs to stretch her legs and get stuff out. But really, it's about that level of self-control that you will have.
No, you'll have those days where you can control what you can control and let go of everything else, and it feels great. And then other days you'll have a moment of like, you know what, you're right. I got to exercise this feeling because I haven't had this monster come out in a while. And you know what? Someone scratched that monster and it jumped out. Like, let me go ahead and grab it, try and pull it back in so no one knows it's there. And it's a reality. And it's so hard because all these different things, your energy, your vibe, your attitude, your behavior, they all connect to how you present off to the world. And when that happens, you can have a monster moment and you can sit down for a long time based upon your monster moment.
Of course. But you have to own that moment.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to. You own it for what it is. because anger is a natural emotion. It's completely normal to be angry. It's completely normal to be sad. You have to own it though. You can't feel ashamed of it. You can't feel guilty of it. Own it. Own it and deal with it and just move on. I wouldn't even hold on to it.
When you own something, you control it. So that's so deep. What would you consider your first affirmation that, writing books and serving a purpose, being unapologetically dope, by the way, was going to be your journey?
I don't know. I don't even know if I knew. So many things that I've done are surreal. And some things that I am doing, I don't even realize I'm doing until someone like you is reading it back to me, all the accolades, because I'm moving so much, but I also feel like my voice is bigger than me. My purpose is bigger than me. And so when I'm looking at all of the things that I'm doing, I just know that they feel right. I know that my every bit of my gut and my being is telling me this is what I am supposed to be doing. And so if that's what makes me, unapologetically dope, then I will take it and I'm going to own that. But I can only be who I am. I can only be considerate to who I am, and I can only put forth who I am.
Something something I normally don't talk about, but it just strikes me as, what about those moments where you're in the moment, you're doing the job, but it doesn't feel right? At what point do you make yourself so uncomfortable, even though you're so comfortable doing what you're doing, that you decide that you take a leap of faith and walk out and go to another challenge that strikes you?
So I never do anything that's uncomfortable. I might do things that make me nervous. And I know that when I'm nervous, it's growth, and it's not necessarily fear. And in those moments when it's like, okay, you need to walk into this, it's going to feel right. I walk by faith. I believe in faith, and I believe in the energy that I have. And my energy reads people, and my energy reads situations. And if you really listen to your gut, if you should do something and if you should not. And so because I really follow my gut, there are things that when I follow my gut, I don't want to do. It makes me nervous to do, but I do it because that's what my spirit is leading me to do. So if it absolutely makes me uncomfortable, I know that I'm not supposed to be doing it. Because there's a difference between comfort, there's a difference between discomfort, and then there's a difference from just, outright wrong. And so you don't want to be comfortable where it's like, I don't want growth. But growth is fearful. People are scared of change. I'm not afraid of change by no means, but it has to feel right. It has to feel good. That's when it goes back to that saying, all money is not good money. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it, because all money is not good money, and my time is my money. So no matter what I'm giving out, just know that it's costing me. So it has to be something.
Speak on it. Speak on that. For those that don't know, and something that I want to add in there is that I tell my guests all the time before they come on the show is that you got to be comfortable and confident, because that's where the greatness lies. And, people don't realize there's a thin line between comfort and uncomfortability, so that, there's a purpose behind it. God will make you so uncomfortable in a comfortable setting that he removes you from it and you don't understand, so that you can rise above and embrace something new. And other times you don't embrace that uncomfortability because you're so comfortable, and you keep on going through the turmoil and wonder why it's happening. And so I just want to make sure we spend a little time on talking about some manifestation and prayers, because you don't realize how much manifestation and prayers without hard work and dedication will lead to so much of your ideas and dreams coming true. And it's, as you say, surreal. I can tell you myself, I've had so many surreal moments that I will pinch myself or bite the inside of my cheek just to make sure I'm still alive. I'll say something real stupid just so people will look at me like, oh yeah, I am here.
Yeah. And I do believe in that. I think that you actually manifest with what comes out your mouth, because what comes out your mouth feeds back into your ears. And a lot of that you can speak into existence. I'll give an example. A year ago, a couple of months ago, I had wrote on my Facebook, the goal wasn't to make it to Hollywood. The goal is to make it to Forbes. And this year I had a feature in Forbes because I spoke those things into existence, and I was able to lend my voice on a platform that was a goal of mine. And so when I look at that, things that now I'm more intentional and conscious about what I say. I also was sharing, I was sharing some information in a conversation with some friends, and she had said, "Oh, I never use the word can't because the word can't is can." And I told her, I said, I never use the word I can. My mind doesn't process I can. I say that I am going to. If I know I'm intentional about something, I'm going to do it. It's not can I or can't I, it's I'm going to. Because at that point, the way my mind thinks is, okay, we're going to do this. It doesn't matter. If it feels good to you, it's going to do it, and it's going to manifest the way that it's supposed to, because it's meant for it to be yours. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying I can buy, I can have $100 million. I'm realistic. Here it is about being intentional. I'm realistic about what I can do, even if I don't feel equipped to do it. I know how to get there.
See, and that's closing idea. That's getting on a plane and saying, you know what, I'm taking off this idea that I thought of, and I'm going to get there, and it's going to be a bumpy ride. There may be some turbulence. I won't stop. I won't quit. But you got to remember, you got to land. You got to arrive at your destination. You have to close that deal. Because if you don't close it and you just spin around, you're going to be lost in air, and you're going to find other things to do. And that destination is no longer what you're perceiving. And you can miss opportunities that will change your life. And, speaking of opportunities, you have not shied away from the opportunity of traveling. And, I want to make sure we spend some time talking about some of the excursions and wonderful places that you have been that, not only sticks with you when you close your eyes, because people forget the fastest time machine in the world is our mind. It's not light, it's our mind. You close your mind and go anywhere you want. You can watch a TV show and have that stuck in your mind, and you can put yourself there. It's important for you to, just embrace it. So please let my mind be full of places that you've been that stick out. Give me like 3 to 5 that is like, okay, this is where I'm going.
Okay. So Israel was hands down one of my favorites. And because I also, while I was in Israel, I got to go to Jordan, and I got to float in the Dead Sea and collect my own mud from the Dead Sea. It was just an amazing, enlightening experience that I don't think I would have ever known about, because when you read the Bible or you hear people talk, and you at church and you grow up hearing things, but to see it and feel it and, go where Jesus walked and where he was born in Bethlehem and all of those things, it was something so empowering internally. And going to the Wailing Wall and praying against the Wailing Wall and leaving prayers behind for my friends and my family. It's an experience that I will always be able to have, and I can close my eyes, and when I'm reading the Bible and then I pray, it's more realistic to me. Because I went to Old Jerusalem, where the original, I would say second to that would be Egypt. I did, even though it was kind of chaotic and crazy with the driving, it was an absolutely beautiful place, to see hieroglyphics and to see all of the old ancient, that centuries old of, just hieroglyphics still standing and written on the walls. You can still see it. You can go into pyramids, and to see how they lived is just absolutely amazing. It makes you think differently about the progression of man. And then what's another place? My piece of heaven, I would just say, is Turks and Caicos. I went to Provincialis. Yes, it's something extremely peaceful about that place, from the water to the people to the food. Everybody was super nice. So those are my top 3. I would say my favorite food place is Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur has some of the best food. Like, I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning just so that I know I can eat until 8 before it was time for me to go to work. I'm a diehard foodie.
I'm just going to tell you, that is fat. But obviously you're working it out. I have fat problems too myself, where I can't control, and I'm still trying to work it out myself. But that's just a whole nother thing. I just got to let you know, from a fat person to another fat person that enjoys food, loves food, the textures, the smells, the taste, the process of from something smelling from the beginning to the middle to the end and then down. Oh, it's just fat. I just got to tell you.
Yeah, well, I have an inner fat girl because, people looking at her like, how are you still eating? I'm like, I don't know. I'm still hungry though. And it's pure gluttony when I go to Malaysia, just because the food is that great and that natural. I think that's the other part. My last city, my fifth one, I would definitely say would be Mexico City. And I know there's lots of islands that I've been to in Mexico, but hands down, Mexico City is not touristy. And I tend to go away from the beaten path. And that's what makes these places much more enriching for me.
So just so we're clear, no one else, just you got to have somebody with you. Don't go off those tourist paths. I mean, she took a leap of faith. I've been told in Mexico City, like, the federales will rob you and stuff if you off the path. But that's here nor there. I'm just saying you are a brave, brave soul. But then again, with the military background and, the other things you have done in this government that I'm not going to put too much attention to because that's nobody's business, you are no one to be played with.
Well, some places I had drivers. And the other part is when I was in Mexico City, I went walking around. I went by myself. I didn't feel unsafe. You do need to know how to speak Spanish. That's just to get around. If you love Starbucks, it's like they have one every few feet. Like I think I can stand in one place where I was working, and you could see 7. But I never really went to them because they had this one little cafe that had this cafe con gallo. It's like coffee with chocolate. Oh, I would go back there just for that. Literally.
That sounds bomb.
I also had cricket while I was there, so this goes to show.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I will try a lot of food just because.
Yeah, you're a little bit braver than me. I don't know about no cricket.
They had eggs too. I couldn't do that, but I have eaten what is it, silkworm before, right out the can. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
You know what? That you don't have to jump out of a plane, even though you probably may have, but you already did, like, X Factor for real. You don't have to do anything else. Fear challenge is done. Like, nah, you already checked that box off. No one needs to question that.
Yeah, you only live once, and I'd rather experience life rather than just exist.
Yes. Why not playing the game when you have opportunities to play in the game? Like, people don't understand that. And, speaking, like I said, having a background in military and, what can you tell the listeners on the journey of what the military provided as tools for your journey after discharge and back to civilian life?
So it's so weird that I grew up military. I'm a military brat. I'm also a military vet. And so I don't think for me there was a big shift. There is, I recognize, difference working for the government versus being, military. But for the most part, my dad was a drill sergeant, so I really didn't have much of a change. I'll be honest. I think the military teaches you discipline, but I grew up with discipline because of what my father was. I mean, my father was a drill sergeant. He was airborne and air assault. So I think for me, I grew up with structure.
See, as we're talking about your father, I like to ask every guest, and I don't know if it's your parents, but there's always someone that invests the idea that the dream can become reality. Who do we owe to thank you for investing that idea to you?
My mother. My mother is hands down my biggest fan. My mother is, my light and inspiration. I do, because I don't have, biological kids, but my light I've always had to shine, and my accomplishments I feel like I owe to my mother. I did for her. Some people want to do things. I mean, I did them for myself, but I just knew that if whatever is possible, she would believe in it, and she'll stand behind me with it, and she'll support me in it. And she's done the most amazing things. She's wherever I'm at. If I'm going to speak somewhere, she's going. If no matter what, even if it means, and she's done it before, she has to fly in and fly right back out. Wow. Her dedication to me makes me work even harder to take care of her. That's my ultimate goal, is for my mom to never have to want for anything. And I spoil my mom.
As you should.
She's my world, my everything.
This game, that we go into with media is like a roller coaster. And, what have you been able to go through that you're willing to discuss from the highs and lows?
Ooh, I had, I would say on the low side, I used to have this really, really bad fear about being open and coming out into the open. I like to consider myself a very private person. And I think it was more because I felt inadequate. Even though I wasn't, I dealt a lot with what they call, gosh, I just talk about losing, talk about losing where you're at. But it's imposter syndrome. Talk about imposter syndrome at the highest level. That was me. I know what I know. I'm okay with what I don't know because I can find out. But I think I felt so inadequate because of the way that I felt about myself for a very long time that I never really stepped out. And when I finally did, it was probably the best thing that I have ever done. Because here I am now, I'm talking to you. I've had opportunities to be a media correspondent for the Stellar Awards. And, other people are reaching out to me. I was on Fox Soul because of what I had to say. And then, so I owe it to listening to myself to say, you know what, I'm going to have to put myself out there. And then when I put my book out there with all my business, I was like, well, nobody can criticize me if I put it out.
Yes.
And I started owning who I am, and I started owning my strength, and I started owning my purpose, and I did it all with intention so that if people want to talk to me, they're going to know that they're going to get the authentic, transparent, Dr. Pam or just Pam or whatever, that's who I am. And I'm not ashamed of it.
See, that's important. That's so important. And I like Dr. G just because, we keep it gangsta on here time to time. And, personally, like I used to have a unique life or, the way I grew up. And one thing is having this skin color and then growing up in the culture. And, you don't get all the passes. You got to work things out. You got to talk to people. You got to get into some fights. And so, it's a crazy road. And as I grew up, I would talk to people about things from college, like, yeah, have you been through this? Have you been through that? And they'll look at me like, is he lying? And then they'll start telling rumors. And then, you know what? I got to a point where I'm like, I'm not going to tell anybody anything else about my life. I like being judged for me and what I bring to the table right now, not some of the stuff I've been through, even though I could help you on some of the shit you're going through. But I'm going to choose to shut up. And I did that for a long time. And I talked about it earlier about being comfortable till God will make you uncomfortable. And I've been that where I was so comfortable, I thought I was the man, and not realizing I'm like to 2% of my potential, 2% of my capability. And until I got woken up, shaken and moved around and, you have everything in front of you and you can lose it all. That's when you really make the best decisions of like, you know what, everything's on the edge. I'm either going to fall off or I'm going to get up and really make a difference. And I was really able to embrace that. And when I hear about some of the things you've been through, I'm like, I have to, you know what? I got to cut open this onion layer skin and pull some of those juices out. And hopefully I don't cry when I'm cutting this open. But, onions make people cry. So don't get upset. It's just a reality of life that, we have so many things we go through and we get onion layered skin. And we have to just keep on battling and battling. And you know what? You'll find a lane where I found for myself that I'm comfortable at. I'm doing something I feel is a purpose and a passion. And, that's the biggest reward is that by relating to people don't understand that you can't do this all on your own.
That's true. But I also firmly believe when you're talking about onions, and I think that's such a good metaphor when you're peeling back, but I also encourage people to change the way that they think about it. So here's the flip on that. Don't cry because it happened. Laugh because you lived it. And laugh because it grew you, and appreciate that it grew you. You can't look back. Looking back in the rear view does nothing for you. So yes, you can't, if you continue to cry over things that happen, you haven't healed. And healing is a part of growth. So laugh because that happened. Just be like, that shit happened to me and I'm here right now and I can tell the story. And I'm not going to cloud and shield that story for anybody. So if you want to judge me for it, clearly I don't need that kind of energy coming in. But at least I'm honest and open about it. I've lived it. I'm okay with it. And it made me who I am. It made me who I am as a person. It made me who I am as a woman.
I gotta make sure I tell my wife or show her this interview for the simple fact that when I have that laugh, when some things are uncomfortable or if something's gonna go wrong, my son has it too. When that laugh comes out, it's honestly because we just know whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, and we're gonna get through it. We're gonna go through it the best we can, and you know what? That's just our way of dealing with, like, I don't know, stress or anxiety. We laugh at things.
A coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism.
See. That was my first time hearing that laughing's a coping mechanism. Here, I thought all I had to do was smoke weed to cope. I could laugh through it.
No, you know what? I have one friend of mine that teases me all the time that always say they could tell when I'm nervous because I have a Kool-Aid smile. And yeah, and that's just me. That's how I I'm very cheery, I'm very bubbly, but my smile really would tell you, like, oh, okay, that's my way of coping. And I laugh, but when I look at some of the tragedies from my past, I'm not going to, they have no longer earned tears. I'm completely healed, and and here again, I accepted responsibility, my responsibility and my role. So I don't need an apology from anybody who hurt me in the past. I don't care for it, because apologies don't heal.
That's why you're apologetically dope.
I'll take that. I'll take it.
Thank you. So, Dr. G, what is one thing people have fucked up about writing a book?
Thinking it has to be perfect. I think in the very beginning that when people start to write, they always feel like, oh, I don't really know I have all these emotions. I have a lot I want to say. Just put it down. Just say it. And if people don't write very well because it's coming out so quickly, I personally record. And then, of course, I have a transcription app that I just push that recording to, and then it would transcribe something. So that way I can keep it. I do my thoughts like that as well, because, yeah, I write a lot. And so my mind can be in different places. If I'm doing a speech or I'm getting ready to do training and things come to my mind, I'm like, let me turn my phone on and put my audio on where it's going to record me. And I record, and then I go back and then I pull it up later on.
You just dropped one of the biggest gems for anyone that's aspiring to be a writer, no matter what you do. She just gave you the biggest gem on how to get your thoughts across and onto paper. You ever get that saying of, I can't get my thoughts on paper? Well, you just said something and it can now go on paper. Embrace it.
Yeah, you utilize technology. All this advance in technology, make good use of it. I mean, I use my calendar, I use my recording apps, and I use my transcription apps. I use a lot of technology because it makes things easier. It's work smarter, not harder. So you can transcribe an entire book, and if you just get it out.
Whew.
Just put it out there.
Yes, no, put it out there. I want you to put this out there as well. What has been your 3 most rewarding moments so far?
Oh, wow. My 3 most rewarding, I would say Forbes is one. And of course, getting my doctorate was extremely rewarding because I lost 6 pounds and cried for like 3 weeks straight towards the end. So that was rewarding. And the third one, I'm trying to think of something that is just so rewarding to me that I've accomplished. I think for me, my most rewarding is me coming into my own. Outside of that, because I got to define my life. I got to learn how to love who I am and accept who I am. So that's probably my most defining moment.
I've never had anyone say that, and through all my questions of that. And what's so important is that people forget that old saying of, you can't help anybody unless you can help yourself. And if you want to be that vessel to give and gift, you have to make sure that vessel is clean and pure before you decide to jump out there and do some things, because vessels crash, they drown. So it's important to keep yourself above water and breathing and happy. Thank you. That was so dope. I've never heard someone say just how life happens for me, essentially, and embracing that's me. And that's rewarding. Wow.
Moment. And that's what I think makes it so difficult, is that, if I did not have that defining moment, I would not have had all the other moments that followed.
Yes. 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 That's embracing your purpose. I got 2 quick segments. I didn't get to do them on my other episodes, so I want to make sure I do them on this one. So I'm sorry if we're starting to run on time, but this one's near and dear to my heart. And growing up in the hood, you don't really know what to do when these things happen. And I'm talking about the red and blue lights, the high beam hitting the back of your neck, searching for everybody in the car, and you hear the next thing is a blurp sound, you're getting pulled over. And I like to ask every guest of mine, when was the last time they were pulled over, and what's some advice they can give in the situation of interacting with police. I think this one's very interesting because you have a full background with military, and then on top of that, you have a government background. And, I definitely would love for the listeners to understand and at the same time have a gap bridge between the two. I personally have a biased opinion, but that's, me, but, that's just, I want to have, your experience and your testimony.
Okay, so I have a biased experience, but I also have an subjective one and an objective one, I guess you could say. When I first started with the government, I started with law enforcement. And so I was at a training academy. And so just understanding and knowing what they really, the purpose of them becoming law enforcement is not to protect one another, it's to protect people. It's to protect, the American people. And so you get insight onto how they train, why they train. And so knowing that and just seeing how some of this has played out in the media is disgraceful and absolutely disgusting, considering I've worked with people who were law enforcement. And, here's a bigger thing. I was in Brunswick, Georgia at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center working. So when that situation happened in Brunswick, it was really, really disheartening at how they protected the people who had, was just, I guess, super racist, when the young man was jogging. So I look at it from that. The last time I was pulled over was probably about a month ago. And I would tell you, there is something different about being pulled over now versus being pulled over, back when years ago before, because I worked for law enforcement, I think, and I was married to law enforcement at one time. So my awareness was not as, or my perspective was not the same as it is now, considering the world changes and what's come out in media. Was I nervous at all? Yes. And I had 2 kids in the back seat, 3 and 7. And so when he came up to my window, he was very polite and he was very nice. But for me, I started recording because just naturally I needed to know that exchange was going to be the way it should have been. So yes, even me as a Black woman who gets pulled over, even though it was just simple speeding, I wasn't even speeding that fast, but the fact that I got pulled over I was in Virginia. Yeah, and so makes you a little bit uneasy. I can definitely say that.
I just want to add, Virginia, they need to turn up their speeding laws because 55 miles an hour is ridiculous. That's what big rigs drive in California. I don't understand why we got to drive 50 and 55 miles an hour on the interstate. Sorry.
They have some that are 70.
Oh, okay.
They have some that, depending on where you are at, they have some that's 70 miles per hour. Where I was at was 70 miles per hour.
Oh, so you was moving.
I was not moving. I was doing I was not going that fast, actually. But no, I did get pulled over though. And it was a very, uncomfortable as he approached, because you just don't know.
No, you never know. You don't know what happened on the call before. You don't know what happened personally. At the end of the day, these are normal people that deal with real life stuff. They put on a badge. They got rims like everybody else. But at the end of the day, they're there to do how they feel. And, that's why we have a justice system. And even though the justice system could be the richest system in the world, that's here nor there. At the end of the day, we can have our day at court. So it's so important to get through the situation as quickly as possible. Comply and try to be as visible as you can for everything you do and ask before you do it.
Yeah, but the justice system is, they say it's supposed to be blind, but it really is to equality.
See, you just said such a powerful bar. I just have to have a moment of silence. I wish you had a mic, because you just dropped the mic and walked out, and we're going to come back in. Just a moment of silence.
It is. I hate seeing that, oh, blind justice. Well, yeah, they had it right. They had the very right. Whoever thought of the concept of blind justice gave it the right title. And
But
it's blind because it's supposed to be objective, but it's a very subjective blindness. And it's very biased and it's very racial.
no, and then I've seen everyone's seen stuff on YouTube that they have this whole system that they can pick out all these jury members and whatnot based upon what they already are socially viewed because of this social media. And that stuff is just so crazy. But I got my next segment, and it's a
Okay.
little bit lighter in thought. It
Okay.
allows us to breathe, have some fun, and make you think still. You still got to think, but it's a fun think. And it's called Impulse Q&A. I have impulse questions I wrote down earlier, and I want your impulse answer. I want you to answer 3 of them. If you don't like the question, all good, say pass. And I have another one for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question number 1. I want to know if you had to give up one of these 2 items, which one is to be gone first? Wine or ice cream?
Oh shit. Ice cream.
She said, you ain't fucking with my wine.
I love ice cream, but hell no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Can't get rid of my wine.
It's good for the heart, especially the red ones.
It is. I'm a red wine drinker, so no, I'm not giving up my wine. Okay, next one.
Question number 2. Speaking of hieroglyphics earlier, it made me think of, what is your least favorite emoji?
Oh, the okay. I hate that. Whatever that is. I'm like,
See, we live in California. I don't use that because that's like a gang sign. So, I don't get into the politics, but I for sure don't support the politics if I'm writing something. So, you got to be mutual and understanding things. So I'm with you. We ain't got a gang banging emoji. We just got to say, okay, 2 letters. Okay. Question number 3. What is one thing you love, but you wish you hated?
work. Work.
See,
I do.
you love the work and you admitted that you really want to hate it, but that's awesome.
So I would have to say, it'd be work. I love what I do. I love everything that I do, which is why I wear so many hats. I just wish I didn't love all the hats that I wear, because then I could scale back. But I'm so dedicated to, I guess everything that I'm doing and the purpose of it and the purpose behind it makes me enjoy it.
Yes, yes. And something else to be thankful for is that you wear all these different hats. You just don't have to have that many closets to keep up with the hats.
True. Just one. Just one.
Come on. You have survived my awareness segment. You have survived my impulse Q&A. As a reward, let's promote. It's promote time. Let's have the viewers run up. Let the viewers know it's your platform. Shout out who you want to shout out. It's go, go, go.
Okay, so one, I'm going to shout out my mom for doing such a fabulous job raising me and giving me life. Secondly, go check out my book, I Am Not a Stereotype, I Am HER. You can get it on my website at www.iamdrpgurley.com/shop. And you can also get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Apple ebook on the ebook version. So check it out. Let's have some dialogue with it. Also, follow my YouTube channel. I really just got it started. I have a segment now, or new series called Unapologetic with Dr. G. Definitely check it out. I have some really dope people that's going to be coming on to inspire people. And it's only about less than 15 minutes long, where I just ask people what they're unapologetic about, and we have conversation. Check out my podcast, Herspiration Happy Hour. It is pretty much on all platforms. We're in season 3. I have 2 great co-hosts. I'm going to shout them out, Louisa Harrell and Cortina Peters, the girlfriend therapist. And, follow me on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, Twitter at I Am Dr. P. Gurley, because that's who I am.
Yes, yes. I want to shout out Tavia because she has been a big help on helping me get great, wonderful people, especially wonderful women on the show that are, I don't want to use the word powerful because I feel like power is not something that we should all glorify, but certain women with power do rightful things that change the way we see things. And you are definitely on that same platform of changing the way we see things. And I appreciate you. appreciate you coming on the show. But, I got one last thing before we wrap up. If you notice, the show is different. It's a little unique. It takes a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but it's well worth it. And I just got to say, you got any questions for me?
Do I have questions for you? Okay, you know what? Yes, I will interview you back. So what made you get started on your platform?
I got told no. I realized I had a gift with people that I would get stories. Like I was always a person that walked the streets, rode the bus, Amtrak, and people would tell me their life stories. And I would just be like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to hear about all these people. And then I started to have relationships and like knowing all these different people everywhere. And then I moved a lot. And so through all of that, I realized, oh, I got a gift knowing all these different people. And I applied that later on in life. And I tried to work at a radio station. I tried to join some other people's podcast, and they all told me no. And, I took that as a leap of faith. I need to start my own. And then I had an incredible opportunity where I interviewed Bobby D from Bobby D Presents, and he embraced me. He said I was psychedelic and organic and gave me an opportunity. And then season 2 came rolling around, and Snoop Dogg got behind the show with Uncle Snoop's Army. And it's been just an incredible journey and opportunity to, one, express who I am, express my upbringings and how I am unique, because there's not too many people like me that could talk about stories of walking in and out the jungles and having, the story to tell, and I haven't been touched.
Okay, I got another one really quick for you. What inspires you, or who inspires you?
If you would ask me that question 10 years ago, it'd be like a different answer. But right now, the biggest people that inspire me is my wife, my children, my mother-in-law, my son, my daughter. They have a big influence into why I do the things I do, why I slowed down, why I battle that monster that wants to come out, because there's more important of coming home every day and, taking my kids to bed and give them a kiss and a huggy before they say kissy, kissy and huggy, huggy before they go to bed. And that thing is something that I've actually felt really empowered, because I didn't grow up with a father. So the ability to be a father and stick around and do everything and be proud to provide, that is something I embrace. And that's really what inspires me. And then my mother-in-law, actually, my laptop crashed. And this will be the first time me talking about this, but my laptop crashed when I started this and COVID hit. I had a big opportunity to start interviewing all these rappers, singers, comedians for Bobby D for my show and content, and COVID shut it down. And then my laptop crashes. And so my mother-in-law bought me a laptop. I wouldn't have understood how to do Zoom back in March and everything else, because my wife's a teacher. And so I got to understand Zoom from her, and like just all these different things allowed me to be ahead of the game. And that's, that's it.
That's super dope. Honestly, I think that's super dope and a great inspiration to have. Family should always be on that list of inspirations. And then last, I'm going to ask, like I ask all of my other people who are on my show, what are you unapologetic about in this moment?
I'm unapologetic about the way I've been brought up. There's a stigma because I was born into money. My father and my father's side of the family, they have money, but my father passed away. And so to have this stigma put on me that I'm supposed to do this, that, and be like everybody else, it's like, no, fuck that. You got me fucked up. I'm not doing that. I'm going to do what I feel is right. And I'm going to continue to go my path and still inspire and execute in that same regards as the other family members that have done things. But I'm gonna do it my way, and I've learned that God has accepted me that way, because the world has opened up for me, and I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you having me on your show. It's been great.
Dr. G, it's been an honor and a pleasure. It's season 3, like I said from the very jump. It's a special edition episode, and you guys should all see why I had to have Dr. G on here, because she kept it real gangster gangster for everybody. Because she's unapologetically dope. She let them diamonds drop from the gym. She let speaking out, and they was just, diamonds in the dirt, just dancing, and they shined. And eventually, we're all seeing the gems. Thank you, Dr. Pam Gurley, for coming on here and just shining to the listeners.
And just really quick, my birthday is tomorrow, November 8th. So I'm going to enjoy a weekend at the winery, and then I'll have to come back and listen.
There you go. And you're probably going to laugh a lot. You probably may have a little onion layered moments, but you know what? You're going to enjoy the whole thing, because that is the whole part of this process, It's embracing, you know, the praises of your success. And a lot of people don't understand that not everyone has a blueprint that they can give to somebody and they can understand it. But there's certain variables in people's lives that they can apply to their own to get over that speed bump, to get over that pothole, and get to that plateau of getting closer to your dreams and making it a reality.
Yep, live off of failure and never let failure defeat you. Allow failure to grow you. And so, you know, that's what I'm a firm believer in. I allow failure to grow me and make me better, not make me worse or bitter.
I see why you're a writer. And you know what? Talking to you, I think I need to start writing some shit down too. You are influencing me because there's so much that like we don't understand. When you said that to me earlier about putting it into your phone, that's something I have a trouble with. But I'll tell stories all day and long that like I recognize what story should be a movie, what story should be a series, what story is just something that really needs to get in someone's mind that they're making a bad choice because I already made that bad choice.
I like to think of myself as more prophetic than a writer so much. I've lived a great life. I've lived a very interesting life, and I've lived a very full life to be, you know, I'm not young, but I'm not old.
Well, it's safe to say that as much as you say is full, the glass is still half empty and you still got a lot more to accomplish. And I can't wait to see how many different things get to fill up that cup of success. Thank you for coming on. It's Contrast Uncut. I know.
This is your girl, the unapologetic diva, Dr. G, and I just got finished hanging out on Contrast Uncut. Shout out to Snoop Dogg and Bobby D.
Yeah, this really reminds me of some, this really reminds me of some Tribe Called Quest. Hip-hop really taught me to give it all I got left. Wu-Tang taught us how to beat their projects and tell my story over beats and it could be a project. Look, how it all begun, bum, skibbity bum, yeah. Grew up on that Nas, on that L, on that pun. Old soul when I was young, crisscross, make them jump. Battle rapping for respect, my nigga, this ain't what you want. Can I kick it when I'm rhyming? Be a legend through Ebonics, was a sticker boy. Felt like sticky fingers, played at Onyx. Can I live track 8? Feel like Jigga 96, without a reasonable doubt, the album turned me into this. Shit, we always had dreams of being money making Mitch without jewelry on. Hit a jail pose, take a flick. Feel like Pac and keep your head up. Biggie shooting juice. Coach is still alive, just let me prove. King, nigga.
Everything that you do, baby, I salute you.
Right there you go. Another episode of Contrast Uncut. Make sure if you enjoyed it, you leave a comment below. You hit some like buttons. You hit some subscribe. You go ahead and hit share if you want to. Say something nice or say something you don't want to say at all. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Comment below.